Hello, welcome back. It's so good to see you. So, today we're going to be talking about what I have been watching for the month of August. As usual, I have my notes over here so I don't forget what I'm talking about. So, what did I watch? I watched some shows and some movies, so I guess it's a mix of both. But I stuck mostly with Netflix and Peacock, although now that I say that, I see something from Apple TV, so never mind. There's a variety. Just ignore me. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so the first thing that I watched, it was a show, and I waited to watch it. I hate waiting to watch shows, but I just had a feeling that the show was going to be fantastic. So I think I hear like a plane or something outside. Sorry, it distracted me. I had a feeling that the show was going to be fantastic. So I didn't want to have to wait each week, So I let it build up so that I could just binge the whole series. And it was so good that I watched it twice. Once myself and then once with my husband. It was fantastic. Okay, so the first thing that I watched was a show on Apple TV, and it is called Presumed Innocent. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it a 78%. Audience score gave it an 80%. I think that it deserved better than that. But it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, which is the reason that I wanted to watch the show, because he's so great in everything that he does. And I'm like, if Jake Gyllenhaal is in it, it's gotta be good. So that's why I waited for it to build up and so that I could binge the whole thing. But anyway, so Jake Gyllenhaal and Peter Sarsgaard. And Peter Sarsgaard is married to Jake Gyllenhaal's sister. So they're like brother-in-laws. And it's so funny because in this show, they actually freaking hate each other. I bet that was fun. But anyway, okay, so what is this show about? Well, Jake Gyllenhaal is, both of them actually, they are, I guess, like state's attorneys or something. They work for the state, I guess. I don't know. And it starts out with a murder case, but it's a very touchy subject because they know the victim. The victim is another state's attorney, I guess, district attorney. I don't know what they call them, but they're the ones who work for the state, So the governor or mayor, I don't know, whoever's in charge, wants the best lawyer possible on the case because it's one of their own, right? So that is Jake Gyllenhaal. I cannot remember the real character's name, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, and so obviously it's hard for them because they know the victim. And Peter Sarsgaard, he wants the case as well, but Jake Gyllenhaal is like, screw you, I'm a better lawyer, so I'm going to take this case. But there's a problem, which we don't find out about until later, and then the story kind of flips. So Jake Gyllenhaal's married, he has kids, stuff like that, but he was having a secret affair with the attorney that got murdered. So the lead attorney on the case is now a possible suspect. Yikes. There is some power, like, I don't know if whoever the guy was that was in charge, he didn't get reelected, and so there was a new governor or senate. I don't know government stuff. But the person who was in charge is no longer in charge, and now this other guy's in charge. So they take Jake Gyllenhaal off the case and put Peter Sarsgaard on the case, and that's when they find out all the other stuff that was going on. And it's like, because Jake Gyllenhaal is starting to look suspicious. He's looking a little sus. So much so that you even question, like, is he involved in this? Like, what's going on? But it's Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like America's little sweetheart. No. No. Anyway, so it's very suspenseful, and it will keep you guessing all the way to the very end. Just when you think you know what's going on, you don't. You don't. And it's a very dark show. Like, yes, it's a dark topic, but I'm talking like dark. Like, I kept making jokes like, did they not have enough money in the budget to like have the electricity on? It was so dark, but obviously that was done to like set the mood and the tone of the show. I think there might be 8 episodes. I'm not really sure. Fantastic acting. Amazing by both the leads, Jake Gyllenhaal and Peter Sarsgaard. Fantastic. And then it ends, and I believe it was supposed to be a one and done type of show, but it got signed for a second season, and you're like, how? What is going to happen? How can there be, like, what? So when season 2 does come out, I'm 100% watching that, because it's fantastic. It was probably the best thing that I watched the whole month. Fantastic. Okay, so the next thing that I watched was a movie, and this is on Netflix. It is called Wicked Little Letters. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it 80%. Audience score gave it 92%. I agree. It stars Olivia Colman. Fantastic. Jessie Buckley. And it drove me nuts because I was like, where have I seen her before? She was on, I don't remember which season. Maybe it was season 4. I don't know. Of Fargo. She was like, she played a nurse that was a serial killer who was from Minnesota. But that's where I knew her from. So fantastic. It was great. This movie is based off of a true story set in the 1920s somewhere in England. I don't remember where. But it's a true story, but it's crazy. It's a crazy true story, but it's also funny and like, what? Okay, so let me explain. All right, so Olivia Colman, she's kind of like a spinster. She's older, and she still lives with her parents. She never got married. I think she was engaged like many years before, but the engagement broke off for some reason. So she's a spinster living with her parents, and this woman moves in next door, and she's a widow. Like, her husband was in the war and he died or something, and she's got a kid, and she's a widow, and so they're neighbors. So they become friends, but they're very unlikely friends because Olivia Colman is very proper. She's a good girl. She does everything right. I say girl, she's a woman, but it feels like she's a child in this because that's how her parents treat her. And then Jessie Buckley is very rough, real rough. She cusses, she says all kinds of like dirty words, okay? And, you know, she's an unwed mother. I mean, obviously she's a widow, but still, it's like frowned upon. It's the 20s, you know? Anyway, so these two become friends, and Olivia Colman's dad doesn't really like them hanging out or whatever. And I don't know, something happens, and the two become enemies. Not really, but they were friends, but then they like drifted apart very quickly. And then Olivia Colman starts getting these wicked little letters, okay? Because uh they're talking crap about her and her family and just any little thing, okay? But it uses very vulgar language that's so offensive, like, oh my goodness. um and everyone just assumes it's from the Jessie Buckley character, because I mean, come on, a widowed mother who's a bit trashy, who uses foul language on the regular. Of course, they're from her. And so this happens for weeks, and they notify the police and all this stuff, and I I guess it's like harassment or something. I don't know. There's no actual proof. No proof that this woman is doing it, but it is just set in stone. She's doing it. And so she gets in trouble with the police, and it sounds like a very strange movie, and it is strange, but it's also like, what is going on? What is going on with this town? Because then, after they decide that it is the Jessie Buckley character, even more people start getting these wicked little letters, and then it's like, oh my, what is going on in this town? And it's very fun. Like, I thought it was funny. I'm not sure if it's marked as a comedy, but I thought that it was hilarious. I don't know. But this is a true story. It's crazy because it's a true story. And it's very interesting. Like, I couldn't look away, and I wanted to find out how it was going to end. It was very, very good. I liked it. And the acting was really good as well. Okay, so the next thing that I watched is a movie on Peacock, and it is called The Bikeriders. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it an 80%. Audience score gave it a 75%. I agree with the 75%. It stars Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, and Jodie Comer. I don't know how you say her name. I have waited so long to see this movie. I love everything that Tom Hardy does. Everything that he's ever been in, even the crappy stuff, it's still good. It's still good. Like, he is one of the greatest actors of all time. And I feel like he doesn't even have an Oscar. It's like, how does he not have an Oscar? Anyway, so I've been waiting forever. It was supposed to come out like in theaters November of last year, and then it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And I think it came out maybe in June. I don't really remember, but it was only in the theater for a very short time. So I was like, oh no, is this movie going to be bad? It's all right. It's all right. Okay, so this is a true story, obviously, about the Bikeriders. But it's a true story based off of a bike club called the Vandals. And I think this is set like in the 50s, maybe. No, I'm going to say 60s. So it starts out where like, the movie doesn't start out like that, but the club starts out like this. Tom Hardy is watching a movie, and in the movie they're talking about a bike club or a bike gang or something like that. And Tom Hardy, he's a really good guy. He's got a wife, kid, normal job, everything like that. But he's like, he wanted something more. So he started his own Bikeriders club, and he called them the Vandals. And this was the golden age, I guess, of bike riding clubs. I don't know. It was a wholesome, good club. It was just like a place for guys to go and hang out, ride their bikes, talk about bikes, work on their bikes. You know, this was before the whole biker bar. What's the name of that show? I can't even think of the show. I can't think of the show, but it's gonna drive me nuts. It was on FX, Sons of Anarchy. It was before the whole Sons of Anarchy type biker club thing, you know? So everything started out good in the good old days, you know, and people wanted to join. They saw the motorcycles, they saw the brotherhood, you know, friendships between the club or whatever, and people wanted to join. So Tom Hardy started allowing more people to join, you know, but he only wanted good people, you know, good people in, and then it started to grow very quickly, and they started branching out. So the Vandals, they had like the Chicago Vandals, and then I don't know, like New York Vandals and stuff like that, you know, like Arizona. So they had like branches, you know. And I was watching this movie and I was like, because there are so many like rules and stuff, because they made up rules and like, I don't want to say regulations, but it was outside of the law, you know. And I was like, wait a minute, are bike clubs like that, like Sons of Anarchy and the Vandals and stuff like that, is that like the modern day American mafia? You know what I mean? Because you have to be like, I don't know. There were just, it seemed very mafia like. You know what I mean? And there was no leaving. Like, just like how you cannot just be like, okay, sorry, mafia, I don't want to be part of you anymore, so I'm just gonna go this way. That's not allowed. So in this bike club, it appeared that you were not just allowed to leave. You know what I mean? Things changed very quickly in this club, and it got a bit scary, and I don't know. I thought, I had no idea what this movie was going to be about. All I knew was that it was going to have Tom Hardy in it, and then I saw Austin Butler, and this movie was made right after the Elvis movie, so I was like, oh, this must be like really, really good. And it was good. It wasn't what I was expecting. And because it's a true story, most true stories, the ending is not that great. And maybe that's why I didn't give it a higher rating, just like Rotten Tomatoes, they give it 80, 75. I don't like, but that's life. That's life, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let me see if I can move this. All right, the next thing that I watched was a movie, and this was also on Peacock. It was a movie called Abigail. I had no idea what this was about. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it an 83%. Audience score gave it an 85%. It stars Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Alicia Weir. There's like a ton of people in this, but I don't really know any of the people in it. But this is a horror film. It wasn't scary. Maybe it was more suspense. I don't know how to categorize this movie. But I did watch the trailer, and the trailer ruins the base of the movie. So you know what you're getting into before you even watch it. So I'm gonna tell you what it's about, but I'm not ruining anything. And it sounds so stupid. So stupid. Okay? So me and my husband were going into this movie like, oh God, hopefully it's funny. Okay? It wasn't funny. But it wasn't bad. It like actually works. And I don't know how, because it could have gone so bad. So, a group of criminals, okay, kidnap a 12-year-old girl. They're watching her. This little girl is like mega rich. Well, her family is mega rich or whatever, and she is at like a ballet recital or something like that, like practicing late at night. She gets into her car. She has a driver and stuff. Like, her parents don't even go anywhere. It's like, and that's how you knew she was like mega rich, you know, because I don't know. Anyway, so her driver drops her off at home. She's talking to her dad or somebody on the phone and talking about what her day was like, and she hangs up the phone. Well, these group of criminals follow her, and they're going to kidnap her. And they do kidnap her, and they take her. It's a very like strategized type thing. These are maybe higher up criminals. I don't know. Anyway, so they do kidnap her, and they take her to an undisclosed house location, and it's a beautiful house. But they have to wait there until morning, because in the morning it's arranged somehow, I don't know, that her dad will pay for her, and I believe it's like $50 million, and then they're going to split the $50 million, I don't know, like 6 ways or something, I don't know. Anyway, so, but they're not allowed to talk about their real names, where they're from, and they're not allowed to know who the dad of the girl is, because if they knew her dad, they never would have kidnapped her or something like that. All this is like in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Then they find out who the dad is. Of course they do. And he's like some super powerful man that will kill everyone and ruin their lives and stuff like that. And I don't know. Anyway, so they're all like, you know what? We're not going to stay here because this is crazy. I'm not ruining my life. I'm out, you know. But then the house gets shut down. Like, all the windows and doors are shuttered, and they are trapped in this house. So they're like, okay, we have to stay here until morning, and then we can get out. We'll get our money. Hopefully they'll never be able to find us wherever we go, you know. So they are actually trapped in the house with this 12-year-old girl. But it's not the average 12-year-old girl, because she's a vampire. I know. It sounds so dumb. But no, it's not dumb. It's fantastic. And it actually is. I don't want to say it's scary or terrifying, but it's like, it's that kind of suspenseful scary where you're like, run, run, run. You know what I mean? And you have no idea where this story is going, which I really like. So they're trapped in a house with a 12-year-old vampire ballerina. It sounds stupid. And the trailer looks stupid. Like, oh God. But we were hoping that it would be like at least funny, you know? Nope, not funny. It was actually very entertaining. I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't suck. It was really good. Really, really good. Okay. The next thing that I watched was a show. I didn't really want to watch it, but I had to, and I'll explain why. But it's a show on Netflix, and it is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it an 82%. Audience score gave it a 69. It stars Emma Myers. She's the only one that I know from. She looked familiar. Everyone else, I have no idea who they are. But Emma Myers is from Wednesday. So I was like, okay. Because I like her in Wednesday. But the reason that I had to watch the show, is because my daughter got me to read the book, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I didn't want to read that book. And it was kind of cringy because it was like teenagery, stupid. But I finished it because I needed to know how it ended. And I'm assuming because The Good Girl's Guide to Murder is a trilogy book series, there's going to be at least 3 seasons. So, and season 1 follows the first book. Yeah. So again, it's based off of the book, and it's about Pippa, who is in high school, and she's working on her, I guess it's like a final senior project type thing where you have to like write a paper about something, or I don't really remember doing anything like that when I was in high school, but maybe it's like a UK thing. I don't know, because it's based, there. So anyway, there was something that happened a few years before she was in high school. There was a girl named Andy Bell who was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Singh. I don't know, years ago, probably like 5 years before. And it just never sat right with her because she knew Andy Bell and she knew Sal Singh, and she was just like, I just don't think so. And the case wasn't investigated to her liking, stuff just didn't add up. And so she's like, for my final paper, I am going to maybe not prove it, but she's just going to do research on it to see once and for all if Sal Singh really is guilty or not, and it's just about her doing that school project. And she ends up working with Sal Singh's brother Ravi. And what I didn't like about it is because in the book, her and Ravi kind of had some chemistry going on, okay? In the show, there was absolutely no chemistry at all. It was almost kind of cringy, like, But this show, it's on Netflix, so it should have been like really good. It could have been really good, but to me, it felt like it was made by the Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or something. It felt very, I don't know, appropriate for children. But it's about a murder, and there's like drugs, and they do talk about some adult things, like drugs and alcohol and murder, but it feels like it could have been darker. Like when I read the book, it was much more dark in my head. But watching the show, it was like, I felt like I was watching the Disney Channel or something. Like it was just, So I'm not going to be watching season 2 or season 3 or however many seasons, because it was just like, it was kind of disappointing. And I was kind of disappointed in Emma Myers because I liked her in Wednesday, but I know it's not her fault, it's the writing. It felt very kiddish, and I did not like that at all. So I don't know. If you read the book, I recommend watching it just so you can see it come to life. But, like, typically when you read a book and then watch a movie, you're disappointed. I think you're going to be disappointed. Okay, so the next thing that I watched was a movie on Netflix. It is called Tarot. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it an 18%. 1-8. Yeah. Audience score gave it a 59%. It stars Aidan Bradley, Jacob Batalon. I don't know anyone in this movie. Like, not a single person. It's just a bunch of, I don't want to say unknowns, but I don't know them. I've never seen any of them in anything. Okay, what is this movie about? Well, it is scary. Majorly scary. It's awful. I'm just gonna straight up say it was so bad. So bad. But it was so bad that, like, me and my husband were making fun of it the entire time. There were major plot holes throughout the entire film. And then I had a question. Like, right in the middle, I had to pause it, and I had to have this discussion with my husband because I was very curious. So I always read articles and stuff about, like, behind the scenes of movies and, stuff like that. And I just read this thing about actors who turned down major roles. So, like, I found out that John Travolta was given the part of Forrest Gump in Forrest Gump, but he turned it down multiple times. He was like, I don't want to do this. I've got other things going on. No. So he was the first choice. Can you imagine John Travolta as Forrest Gump? That totally would not have worked out, It would have been a completely different movie. But John Travolta always regretted it because of how big Forrest Gump got. He always regretted it. But he shouldn't, because if he would have been in it, it wouldn't have been that big, I think the only reason it was that big was because Tom Hanks is amazing. Not that John Travolta isn't amazing, but he's no Tom Hanks. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that film was handed over to John Travolta, and John Travolta passed. He was like, no. I think Tom Hanks was, like, way down the line, but it ended up working out anyway, right? So this movie was so bad, and I told my husband, I was like, I want to read an article that talks about the actors who turned bad films, like, turned them down. You know what I mean? So, like, this movie Tarot, it was written, and I'm sure it was offered to big stars, okay? And the big stars read it, and they were like, no, okay? They turned it down, and at some point, I'm sure they're like, this movie came out. I remember when I was offered that movie. Let me watch it. I made a great choice by turning this film down. You know what I mean? Who were the people who should have been in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, this movie sucked so bad, but I feel like it could have been good if we had the right actors. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm very curious about that. Like, who turned this film down? So, this movie is obviously about tarot cards, all right? This group of kids, I believe they're in high school or maybe, like, early college years. I'm thinking early college years. They decide to take, like, a weekend off or something, and they go stay at an Airbnb. and they're all like, I don't know, being stupid and drunk, and they run out of alcohol, and they're like, well, let's just go get some more. And some of them are like, I'm not driving, are you crazy? And they were like, well, let's order some or something. And like, that would cost way too much money because they're out quite far, so they're like, well, this house has got to have some alcohol in it somewhere. So they go searching, they can't find any alcohol, and there's this door that is padlocked, and it's like, do not go in here. So what do? Oh, they break the lock and they go down in there. Like, what? I was already like, no way. There's no way, because you're gonna get charged some like weird fee. You're gonna get bad reviews on yourself, because at some point the Airbnb trip is gonna be over, and then the person's gonna come in, check their house, and be like, this lock is broke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Also, don't go into a locked freaking basement, Anyway, so they go down there and they start rummaging through all the things. There's no alcohol, or maybe there is. I don't know. I don't remember. And they find this box that has, markings on it, and they're like, hey, let's open this up. They open it up, and it's tarot cards. And one of the girls knows everything about tarot, okay, except the part that you're never supposed to use someone else's cards, which is a major rule in tarot. You're not allowed to use someone else's cards, you know what I mean? And especially these cards, because they've been cursed. But they don't know it because they're stupid kids. So they take the cards upstairs, and she gives everyone a reading because she knows everything about it. Except she also includes the zodiac in the tarot cards or something. I don't know. I don't know how those. I don't know stuff about zodiac stuff. Like birth signs and charts and stuff. I don't know nothing about that. But apparently she does. And she said she knew a little, but this girl knew a lot. Like, very detailed. Very detailed. Anyway, so she gives everyone's readings and stuff like that, and then I guess they leave. Do they leave the Airbnb? I don't remember. So much crazy stuff starts happening, and like, people start dying, like, but they start dying based off of the prediction that the girl gave. And it's very like almost Final Destination, is that what it's called? It's like, what's gonna happen, but you don't know when, or like, I don't know. It was awful. It was so bad that we were just making fun of it the whole entire time. And the acting was just the worst. It was the worst acting. And I'm like, I feel bad, like, whenever I make fun of stuff like that. And then I'm like, okay, calm down. Because this is their job. And, like, imagine them being like, I'm in a real movie that is going to be in the theaters. Like, that's something to be proud of. But, like, do they know that it was a bad movie? Or are they watching it like, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to get like an Oscar or some kind of nominee, I just feel bad. Or do I have it totally wrong and it was supposed to be like a comedy, scary type thing? But there were no jokes in it or anything, so I don't think that it was known that it was going to be funny bad. I do not recommend that movie. My daughter watched it. Me and my husband watched it one night, and then my daughter watched it the next night, and I wanted to get her real reaction, and she said it was okay. It wasn't scary, but it was okay. And I was like, I knew she was gonna like it. I knew she was gonna like it, because to me, I feel like it's made for younger kids who don't know what good acting is yet. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, so that is all the stuff that I watched this month. The thing that I recommend the most is Presumed Innocent. Fantastic. And a good movie is Wicked Little Letters. Fantastic. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.